I'm Dahlia Schweitzer, and I'm going to be reading an excerpt from my book Lovergirl. October 5th. I left work with my neat black briefcase in hand. It looked so corporate, no one could possibly suspect what I had inside. The vibrators, the skimpy clothing, the lubricant, and the extra G-string. Lance had hired a professional makeup artist, so for an hour I sat in a chair and felt even more legit. I was a porn star with credibility. I was a professional. I was more a model, nude model, sure, but who's qualifying, than a slut. That's right, I was a nude model. So what if my poses involved battery-powered toys? I was a model, with skills and experience. I was there to do my job, and I would do it. I would do it well, and then I would take home a paycheck for a job well done. When the makeup artist had finally finished, Lance paid her and she cleared out. I imagined that he didn't want her around to witness our actual work. We started off with the milkshakes. Lance told me all the girls had to do them. It was a theme, and he planned to make a compilation videotape one day, edited to feature a series of girls performing milkshake after milkshake. Basically, I stood in the corner of the room wearing white pantyhose and a zip-up purple sweater that Lance had bought for me earlier that day, and I bounced. I stood and bounced for about half an hour. Bouncing meant moving up and down just enough to get my breasts to jiggle as Lance zoomed in and out. He did some shots of my ass as I bounced, but it was mostly filmed from the front, with the purple sweater coming off in carefully documented stages of undress. Lance had shown me some milkshake shots when I'd come for the interview, so I knew exactly what to do. Not that it was a hard skill to pick up or anything. It was all really in the knees. The trick was a slight bending of the knees to provide just enough bounce to jiggle the breasts without tiring out too quickly. Men, and lesbians, he explained, grinning, are hypnotized by bouncing breasts. That seemed reasonable. Anyway, he was paying, so I did what I was told. I couldn't help being amused whenever he brought up the research that he'd been doing into what turned America on, followed by suggested poses and activities that he claimed had been inspired by his research. I wondered what sort of research he'd done exactly, and how. These were the thoughts that ran through my head as I studied Lance's perspiring bald forehead and impressive mustache. Bouncing didn't exactly take up a lot of mental energy. There was more than enough space left in my head to contemplate Lance's extracurricular activities. Regardless of what I might have been thinking, I was pretty sure that the last thing on Lance's mind as he peered intently through the camera at my bouncing breasts, though, was sex. He was sweating and red-faced, angling his large body to find just that perfect shot. With his mustache, wispy balding hair, and proclivity for sweatshirts with the sleeves cut off, Lance didn't look like the typical porn photographer. Although, for that matter, I wasn't the typical porn star. With my minimal experience, I certainly couldn't say what the typical porn photographer would look like anyway. The one thing I did know for sure was, even if my performance or my body was turning Lance on, the feeling was anything but mutual. As these things flitted through my brain, I was conscious of the fact that my thighs and knees were starting to get tired. My breasts were getting tired of bouncing. The lights were getting hot. Lance kept wiping the sweat off his brow. I tried my best to stay perky.